It looks like I gotta elaborate on this one a little further. So let's talk about why Sony would want Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire both back in the upcoming Spider-Man 4, and why, to them, they don't care about where the story is going, why they just want money. So in case you missed it, there's reports that Sony actively wants Andrew and Tobey back for Spider-Man 4 in the MCU. They want another multiverse film. And a lot of people are saying this doesn't make sense. Sony wouldn't do this. They wouldn't sacrifice this film in Spider-Man. They left it off in a good place. It doesn't make sense. So I'm going to go one by one and systematically deconstruct all of these arguments to prove a point that, yes, they would do this, and yes, they would sacrifice stories they set up. Example number 1. Spider-Man Far From Home. A year prior to that film, I made that video saying after that film, there's going to be a contractual dispute. People literally sent me hate messages on all fronts. I was blasted by other YouTubers and people on social media saying, I'm just doing that for clicks, I'm just saying things, I'm wrong. And then, right after the film released that summer, it turned out that everything I said was true. That Sony would do the whole contractual negotiation thing, it would fall apart, and they would rip Spider-Man out. And then I said, well, don't worry, they're going to work this out, expect it worked out by December or January. It also happened. People did apologize to me. Some didn't. They still said I was just wrong and making stuff up. How many times have I dropped Spider-Man scoops for you guys that I said, just wait a little and you're going to find out? Like, hey, I'm telling you right now, Sony wants Tom Holland in Venom 1. They're planning it, but Marvel pulled it. They told them no. And it's going to happen with Venom 2. People said I was lying on both fronts. I was right on both fronts. Trust me when I talk about Spider-Man. When I talked about the entire rejected script for Sinister Six, other people that are in the know all said, this is all correct, he's telling the truth. Again, I know things about Spider-Man, and I'm not here to toot my own horn and try to be like, yeah, go pay for my Patreon and my OnlyFans for my scoop. I don't care. I'll drop hints, and I'll drop things I know. So what I'm about to tell you is what's going on. So listen before you start posting hate comments and saying I'm lying once again. The original dispute that happened was because Sony wanted the upper hand. They saw the money with Tobey Maguire and figured they could backpedal their way into being, hey, we're MCU adjacent. And if you want further proof of this, look at Morbius. Outright lies in relation to where the film is set, how it connects to Spider-Man, outright putting in fake scenes and dialogue and saying it straight up connects to the MCU. And it never did. They used these same tactics when it came to marketing Venom and Venom 2. And we saw them start to do them with Madam Web, and now they're sort of wishy-washy with it. But there's some evidence there, but I'm going to add more to this. Sony doesn't care about the quality of the film. They don't care about the integrity of the character because they don't own the character. It's a Marvel Disney-owned character that they just own in perpetuity due to a contract. And if they don't produce something, they're going to lose it. We know this because they canceled Spider-Man 4 right as sets were being built and they were building the costumes and greenlit TASM right away. They rushed to TASM 2, didn't care about anything that the actor, director, or anybody was saying, and greenlit multiple sequels nobody wanted. All for money. Now, going back to the MCU side of it, remember how they confirmed the third Spider-Man film was set up to introduce Kraven the Hunter. Hence why he was wanted for murder. But then we learned Sony decided, well, we'll let you do the work. That's cool. We're going to make our own Kraven. You guys aren't allowed to use them. So yeah, that's why we're pulling Spider-Man out. And after all that, they went back to the drawing board, and the only reason Sony would even remotely continue the deal was if Marvel Studios acknowledged their films, put Venom into the MCU, and used the other Spider-Men to be able to backpedal off of previous successes. I can't stress this enough to you. Sony doesn't care about Spider-Man. At least the people in charge of the live action properties, because to them, it is just their IP that they're holding on to that they're not letting go. Now think of this if you're Sony. You've already made a great agreement that gave you your 2 highest box office earning films thanks to Disney. And the last film is your biggest film, and it's also one of the biggest films of all time. And it's thanks to what they were able to do. So when you're asked, hey, what do you guys think we should do with the 4th Spider-Man? Sony is given a couple options. Hey, we want to do this smaller film. It's going to include Daredevil and Kingpin and a couple other characters like Jessica Jones maybe, and who knows who else. And Sony goes, oh, how much do you think that's going to make? And realistically, they look at it, not a multiverse film and everything. Maybe you're looking at 1.1 to 1.5 billion, but suddenly the suit goes, but the last one made over 2. Why? And then somebody explains to him, well, sir, we brought back the old Spider-Man. And he goes, okay, do that again. And they go, but it doesn't fit the story. And the guy goes, okay, well, let's just take Spider-Man out alone. Put him in our universe. Break the contract, because they got to listen to us. And we're back right where we started. It's a 50-50 relationship with Spider-Man, and the people at Sony actively do not care. They don't care that the Spider-Man might appear in Secret Wars. They care about Spider-Man appearing in Spider-Man, which they get a bigger bulk of. That's what it's about. You can sit here and argue that Sony's not going to do it, they're not the ones wanting it. Yes, they are. Marvel Studios was the one that never wanted that 3rd film that we got up until they were forced to literally reshape a new deal that is more advantageous to Sony than them, just to keep Spider-Man in here so fans didn't have to see another clueless reboot done by Sony. And I know some of you TASM fanboys are going to come after me and whatever. Sure, you can like those films. I appreciate them. But they're not what the majority wanted. That much is factual. Sony is in the game of Sony succeeding and getting ahead. They will sacrifice the quality of any film that they're working on if it means that the bottom line is making more money. They've done this with every single Spider-Man film so far after Spider-Man 2. And they're not going to learn. And the faster that people understand that Sony will sacrifice quality just to make the most amount of money, the faster we can all agree that Spider-Man will be better handled if it's not a multiverse film.